Hi, everyone. Thanks again for joining us for another episode of the Daily Bizling. Stacie Mallen is back, and today we're talking about how we can get over that blah feeling. Stacie, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Lindsay. I immediately thought of talking to you when I read this article that came across my feed. Adam Grant, and if you know him, he wrote the originals, which is and among many, many other books. And I love him because he's very practical about what he offers up as advice. And I remember reading the originals and thinking, oh, I actually am an entrepreneur. The way he defines entrepreneurship. So very similarly, he wrote an article about this feeling that many people are sitting in right now. And I know I've had this myself. You're not depressed, but you're not great. So somewhere in the middle. And it's he names it and it's called languishing. So it's not flourishing. And it's really the absence of well-being. You're not in a state of well-being, you're not in a state of wellness. So I'm sure you'll post up the article, and if people want to read in more detail what that means. What we wanted to focus on today is how do you come out of languishing? Because as we've discussed before, I think a lot of us are feeling that way, our kids, and just in general. So what are the things? And I think something that I resonated with when I read this was, yeah, I've experienced this. I remember thinking, even just, and he mentions watching Netflix, like getting really into a Netflix show, into a storyline. You're not looking at your phone, you're not looking at other things, and you're just really engaged, or reading a book that you're really immersed in. And this is called flow. So getting into a flow is really the coming out of feeling languishing. So to be specific, is there something where you set aside everything else that you do on a week, on a day, and you're just focused on that? Is there something that you do?
Yeah, I mean, looking at personal rituals and routines, like I know my ability to get into my flow, like if I'm feeling kind of in a funk, I'll go for a walk. Just going for a walk helps me to clear my head, or even just the simple thing of making a cup of coffee and just focusing in on enjoying that cup of coffee works for me. But I know, there's different strategies for everyone.
Yeah, and I would say working out. And what's funny is I was thinking about this when I read it, and I said, this is true for me in working out in the morning, first thing. And sometimes I'm running a little bit behind, like I get working and then I'll go work out and then I'll come back to working. But what happens during that workout is my phone's going off and my IMs are going off. And I always leave that workout going, well, that wasn't very good. Like I didn't get into my flow because I'm so distracted. So, short story to get into flow is you have to focus, to your point, on the cup of coffee, on the thing, put your phone away. And so, for work, a very simple, practical way I think people could apply this on a daily basis is setting aside 30 minutes. If you have Teams or any other IMing, shut it off. Put yourself as do not disturb, put your phone away, shut off your Outlook or your email, and flow in the space of moving forward on something that you is a project. You have a micro goal that you can get to in that 30-minute period of time. Set that goal for yourself. So it's about the focus, uninterrupted, based on any of those things that we talked about, and have it be manageable but challenging. So set that goal to be totally achievable so you can get there, but a little challenging so you can feel really good about getting there. So I think from the article standpoint, that was a huge takeaway for me, on a variety of levels. Just how do we migrate away from this kind of languishing feeling?
Yeah, I just love the fact that we're able to now define what that blah feeling is, because I know that there's a lot of people that are struggling with it. And mental health has been a hot topic of conversation. We can't get enough of it and we can't talk enough about it. So you don't necessarily have to be stressed or anxious to feel that blah. So if
Mhm.
you're one of those individuals, I think some of these strategies that Stacie mentioned today would be really helpful. So, Stacie, as we look to wrap up today's conversation, is there anything else you'd like to leave our audience with?
Yeah, one thing I'll say, summer's coming up. So your kiddos are going to be out of their sink now too, if they ever got back in their sink, right? So I would share this with your children, nieces, nephews, friends, because I imagine summer coming, we're going to get back out of sync again. So how can you structure some time for your kids, taking away their distraction? Because let's be honest, you have to pry this out of their cold hands to do this, but get them to set those things aside and have them flow into something that feels good for them, art project, craft, whatever that is. So that's something I would recommend coming up for summer, because I can imagine, and as we shared last week, the statistics are astounding for kids right now. So how can we help our kids get there? And I think the piece of the lack of distraction for them is the hardest thing to let go of, and unless you have little ones like you, but even for your little ones, they want to play with the phone or the iPad or whatever else. So I think it's a good piece of advice for parents as we kind of look at the impending summer.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think it helps the entire family moving forward. All right, Stacey. Well, thanks again for joining us for today's episode.
Thank you.